everybody. Welcome to another edition of Louder with Ace. So we're launching this new section of our little channel here called the Archives. And the reason for this is long before I became a band manager, I was a music journalist. And I got to do some interviews with some of my favorite artists throughout the years. And usually I would record these things. So I thought it would be fun to kind of create a section of our channel where we can archive these things so you can hear them. And I did a couple of these before on the previous channel, and they went over really well. So we'll start by returning those to the channel. The first one I'm going to tell you about is the first time I ever interviewed somebody from Slipknot, and it was Shawn Crahan, better known as the Clown. Now understand that I was approached by the PR lady at Roadrunner at the time, Maria Gonzalez, and I had interviewed a bunch of other bands. She said, look, I need a favor. There's this new band just signed. It's crazy. They wear these masks. They're from Des Moines, Iowa. They, play some really amazing music. Unfortunately, I can't send you any of the music other than the demo for one song, and I can send you a photograph and a one-page bio. But would you please interview this guy? And okay. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to talk to him about, but I listened to the demo. It was for the song Spit It Out, and I could really tell there was something there. And at the time that I was doing this, I was still working a legitimate day job at a publishing company up in Canada. And I started work very early, and I would get home in the afternoon. So I tried to schedule any interviews I did after work. And I didn't live that far away from work, so it was only about a 10-block drive or something like that. And on this particular day, I was to interview Shawn. I drove home at the appropriate time to give me a little time to set up and do the interview. And I went to put, I went to put the key for my front door in the lock, and snap, it right off. And I didn't know what to do immediately. So I managed to get a neighbor phone, a locksmith, but it was going to be an hour-long wait. And I could hear my phone ringing in the apartment. I could hear the answering machine pick up, and I could hear Shawn saying, oh, we had an interview at this time. But he left a number, and he said, I'm going to be here all evening if you want to call me back. So after the locksmith let me in, and that whole affair was taken care with, I phoned up Shawn and had one of the most interesting conversations I'd ever had with a musician. Here was a band that was still 3 weeks out from releasing their first record. They had secured a spot on the second stage on Ozfest, which was going to start very soon. And, he had such passion for his band. I was so excited about it, and it was one of the most exhilarating interviews. By the end of that interview, I knew I had to see Snot. And a few weeks later, the Ozfest came to Vancouver, which was when I was living up in Canada. And my friend Roland and I went, and the guys met us after the show, and they treated us like kings. It was one of the best days, and I knew that I was seeing the genesis of something very, very special. And here we are 20, 30 odd years later, or whatever it is, and I'm still a big fan of the band. They've gone through a lot of changes, but they're still an amazing live act, and they're still doing relevant music to this day. So here's the interview with Shawn Crahan from Slipknot, one of the earliest ones we've done. Hope you enjoy it.
Shawn, you're one of the two co-founders of Slipknot.
That is correct.
All out of Iowa. Now, I personally am not very familiar with the music. I got the Roadrunner sampler that had a track on it, so I've had a bit of a taste.
Okay.
But you tell me, what's Slipknot all about?
Basically, Slipknot is a very brutal, aggressive band. We consider ourselves not a 9-member band, but a 9-layered band. It was founded with the entity that we would be ourselves and never compromise to anybody or anything. And we would create music that we felt was new, different, and pleasing for ourselves and no one else. And with that, we became Slipknot, where we would introduce just about anything you can imagine. And that's kind of where the mask came from and the outfits that we wear. And it's all just a big concept, and some things we leave up to people to decipher for themselves, and some things we're open up about, But we just try to create what we do and then hope people will like it.
Well, you use the term layers, and I definitely would use that term to describe the track that I heard.
What song did you hear?
The track is Spit It Out.
Okay.
In a demo format.
Okay.
But the way you described it with the layers, I mean, there was parts of that song where there was so much going on, and then other parts where it sort of moved from chaos into order.
Right.
And I mean, with 9 members, that's got to be the norm, I would think.
Well, I'll give you a little history on that. Basically, we have spent 3 years of our career soul-searching and trying to find the entity that was Slipknot. And in the beginning, when I started the band, I wanted to have 3 drummers. I mean, this was an agreement with all the co-founding guys that there was like 4 of us to put it all together.
Okay.
And we wanted, we wanted there to be something different that jumped out on you. And one thing that really, really appealed to me was the percussion aspect of it. I used to play the drum set, and I didn't want to play the drum set anymore because I wanted to play a heavier, aggressive music with the band, and we needed someone that could utilize that. And Joe, he's one of the best drummers I've ever heard, and he just lays down the double bass and the blast beats and everything just so unreal. So I wanted to have 2 drummers, and the reason why there's 2 percussionists and not 1 is because it's in stereo. We believed in the triangle. You got Chris and I are both the percussionists, and we're on the left front stage and the right front stage, and then you have Joey centered directly in the middle, in the back. So you're getting this triangle of drums.
Wow.
And what we've done over 3 years of time is we've learned that since we're not like a Latin percussion thing or something like that, jazz or something, we've developed just the pure power of the drums, okay? And that took a lot of years to figure out. We've spent a lot of time in the studio, and one thing that I learned was there was 2 things that we needed to do. One, we needed to make sure that all 3 drummers weren't stepping on each other. We had to let Joey lay down the basic beats and let him do his thing, and then we had to complement it and add to it, not mess it up.
So it's not some big chaotic cacophony. It's actually in synergy.
Right. It's total, energy, man. So, and then the other thing that we learned with that was we learned that sometimes we weren't really stepping on each other. It was the tones. And in the earlier days, we were using drums that sounded just like each other. So it would be hard for the listener to believe that there weren't mistakes being done, and it was hard to explain that, no, this is just a multi-layered drum thing. So what we have done since then is we have developed different things to utilize, such as both percussion players play kegs and cans and saws and air tools.
Cool.
We use pipes. And I myself, I'm the only guy that I know of in the entire world that has an all-titanium drum set. And if you know what titanium is,
oh, yeah.
I'm a welder, and I love metal, and I can get into that later. But my titaniums were custom-made for me, for my specs and everything that I wanted, and they have a 1 in a million sound.
I was going to say that must give a very unusual sound.
Yeah, it's a one-of-a-kind sound, and we finally can differentiate the different sounds now. I think people are definitely on this album going to be able to pick apart the 3 drummers. And before, in previous recordings and previous things that we've done, it's been really hard. We've had to, I and the other drummer have really had to compromise and maybe pull some of our parts down in a mix, or maybe just not put them at all, because there was no layers, you know what I mean? They were just kind of all one thing. And it's a hard thing. It's something that we've developed over a long time. We have a song called Surfacing. And when people listen to Surfacing, it starts off with this really crazy guitar, just this, it's got a lot of effects, and it's just really mental. And then Joey comes in with the hi-hat and the bass drum, and it's just like, boom, 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 right?
Uh-huh.
Next thing you know, this incredible power is added to it, just boom. And there's nothing more, but then it's like bass and then the percussion. And then it becomes very warm and very full.
Wow.
And then the whole song, or the whole band, jumps in for the the rise in it, and boom, we go into the song, and it's driving. It's just really insane.
You're making my mouth water.
Well, I've always believed that the drums have always been a real basic thing. I believe it's in our DNA makeup. I believe it's one of the first instruments.
Speaking as a fellow drummer, I'll agree.
Yeah, and I feel that people hear it and they're automatically hypnotized by it. And in the olden days, we did a lot of really chaotic, melodic, dissonant intros where, the bass would just be doing something rhythmic, and the drums would come in and people would just stare at us and they were just foaming from their eyes, just getting ready because the drums were building anxiety, and then you got both guitar players just doing feedback. And they're just freaking out, and they know that something huge is coming. And then Joey would give off his 4 count on the hi-hat, and boom, we're right in your face with, like, the whole band is just, boom, rhythmic right in your face with the song that we wrote called Sick. And it's the lead-off song on the new album.
Wow.
And, that's just all part of it, We never look at ourselves as a 9-piece. It's a 9-layer, And I'll give you a brief thing real quick, and then we'll go on to the next question. But there's 3 drummers, 1 main, technical drummer, and then 2 stand-up powered players.
Mm-hmm.
A lead singer, bass player, 2 guitar players, a sampler who uses a laptop and some other, MIDI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he does he uses all the quotes and the samples and movie stuff and sounds that we make or sounds that we record ourselves. And then we have a DJ, and then basically the sampler and the DJ, they're kind of the same thing, but they're not. One's just doing the technical stuff that we create ourselves or that we take or that we borrow from movies to prove a point or something. And the other guy is taking the same thing but on vinyl, but he's putting a human feeling behind it. Instead of just pushing a button and letting it bark out at you, he's playing it and using his hands to manipulate, using a talent.
Sure.
So that's the 9 guys.
Well, I mean, there are a whole myriad of questions that flood to mind, but let me start with the first one that leapt to mind when we started talking about the DJ and the sampling.
Sure.
And that is, where does there's so much in the media these days about bands getting their wrists slapped because they're sampling this and sampling that, and
mm-hmm.
How does that play into Slipknot's big picture?
Well, to be honest with you, in the olden days, in the beginning when we were developing the theory of the band, there was probably a lot of samples used from movies and stuff like that. But nowadays, we really don't do that. We make our own stuff.
Cool.
I mean, we're all very computer literate, and we enjoy that kind of stuff, and we get in and we make sonic booms, and we record machinery, and we put it in reverse, and then put a pitch shifter to it, and then a chorus, and then we take it and record it on a little kid's radio, and, we do some really sick shit to it, and then we utilize it, and, the samplings can be sometimes a big part of our show because we're not really a band we've always been against the basic, hi, how are you doing, tip your bartenders and waitress bullshit. We're not about that. We're about the music. The music's the most important thing, and the vibe of the music and the soul and the context of it. So what we like to do is we like to create some pretty sick shit to play in between songs,
uh-huh.
that even though the song is done, then all of a sudden there's this very haunting, dissonant thing that we've created that goes along with the whole theory of the band. And that way there's no downtime. People are still hooked into the machine, and they're waiting for the next, entity to come about, But we changed it up a little bit now because, people need to know that songs have ended, and, we do need to communicate a little bit, but, we're easing our way into that.
When I went to your webpage a few days ago, there's some pretty eerie tunes playing.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of feel that you were talking about?
Yeah, we I won't give it away, but we have a special entrance we usually do if we're playing a club,
mm-hmm.
and we've been really known. I'll give you an example. We did a show with some friends of ours, and their name's The Urge, and this was like last year. and we were playing Omaha, and they're kind of like a metal ska band a little bit. They got the trumpets, and they play some heavy stuff. Good friends of ours.
Okay.
Anyway, they let us open up, and they did like 2 sold-out shows. Well, no one knew who Slipknot was from Omaha, and what happened was all these kids came up front, and we believed that they thought they were going to see these young, good-looking guys, get ready to skank or some shit like that, and, play some ska music or whatever, And so we always start our shows with sampling, and on this particular night we started with the Grinch song.
Oh, of course.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Right? We play it, and we got the whole place singing it, right? And everybody's just loving it, and we play it. And, the first 15 seconds, no one really knows it's the band that's doing it. They think it's the venue. But we got so cranked up that, they understand the lights go down. They know it's going to be Slipknot, and they're all happy. And everybody's like, yay, this is going to be fun. We're going to bounce. And then all of a sudden, the Grinch gets a little distortion on his voice, and then he starts talking really low, and it starts getting really sick. And then all of a sudden, there's this droning, dissonant, high pitch. And then everybody's looking at each other, and they don't know what the hell's going on. And then there's a very frightening feeling that they feel, and then you hear these 2 little girls start saying, come and play with us, come and play with us, and it's just going over and over and over. And then we make our entrance like we always do, and then everybody understands that it's not a joke and it's on, and they feel it from the beginning because we make them feel it.
You set the stage.
We set the standard and the stage, and we make sure that everybody's paying attention because we take it pretty seriously,
We've been focusing a great deal on the music, and I think that that's a very important aspect, but you've also gone to great lengths to make a very visual presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And this photograph that Roadrunner sent me of you guys, what looks like to be a Ferris wheel.
Okay.
There's an incredibly somber mood there that I think is typical of the whole feel of the music that you're putting out.
Right.
And I don't know. Are you familiar with a San Francisco band called The Residents?
No, I am not.
There's so many similarities in the philosophy and in the style of what you guys are doing. Not in the kind of music, but in the philosophy.
Right.
Like The Residents are these guys who've been doing albums for 25 years, and their whole philosophy was it's the music that matters, not who's in the band. So they always appear in public in costume.
Right.
They have these big eyeballs they wear for heads. And
oh, okay. I've seen that.
Okay,
I've seen the eyeballs. I remember that. Yeah.
Right. Very powerful visual thing. And
right.
I mean, you guys have a very powerful visual thing. But what's it really all about? Like, why the masks?
Well, I'll give you the story real quick. Okay.
Okay.
Basically, in the beginning, when we were trying to discover ourselves, we had a philosophy. We're all from different bands. We all opened up for each other, and we're all very tight as a family unit and friends. We got sick of all the bullshit that was going down in Des Moines, and basically there was nothing going down in Des Moines, and we have had it. All the clubs that our bands opened up with each other went out of business and, got bored with doing whatever because of money or whatever. So we decided to make a super group. And with people with, a crazy, morbid way of looking at things, and that was going to abide by our standards and no one else's. So we had a rule that when we practiced, that no matter who you are, man, woman, child, animal, creature, alien, I don't give a fuck, whatever, that no matter who it was, no one was allowed in the practice space. And if you were to walk down into practice would immediately stop, and everybody in unison would say, girl in the practice room. We allowed no one to look at us because we don't want any input from anybody. We want to do what we were put here to do and get out what we need to get out without any help. And when it's ready, a new song to Slipknot is a 2-month-old song. We don't release nothing or play it live until it's at least 2 months old. So anyway, we started playing in a reggae bar because there was nowhere to play, and it was in a bad part of town. And we got a Thursday night, and I was pretty good friends, or acquaintances, I should say, with the bar owner, and I conned him into letting us have a night, and he made me take a Thursday because he needed Friday and Saturdays and Monday nights.
Right.
So we took it, and we flyered like I think it was anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 flyers. I had so many people working it that he got calls.
Wow.
He got calls from the city that he was going to get fined every flyer, and he called me up, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. He's like, no, you keep it up. He's like, you guys are the most hardworking band. So we started, we knew we were going to have our first show because of that and stuff, and we flyered it, and we decided that it wasn't about us, and we decided it wasn't about who we looked like or who we dated or where we worked or who knew who. It was about the music. The music is the most important thing to us. Everything is secondhand. We don't give a fuck about the masks. We don't give a fuck about the costumes. We don't care about the stage show. None of that shit unless the music is in your face and the best it can be. We are most mental about the music. It is the most important thing. So what happened was we put on these masks, and there's kind of a story behind it, but we kind of leave that alone. And we put them on.
Why do you leave it alone?
Well, we just,
just drop that.
Well, it's the way it came out, It's just you have to be in Des Moines, and the way it came, like, I'll get to it. I'll tell you a little bit about it. But what happened was we all got our masks, and we kind of got stuck with them because, the first show we had over, like, there was 150 to 250 or something like that. And it was like the biggest show they ever had on a Thursday. And they were so impressed with us, and all the kids and everybody that came loved it so much they had us back the very next night.
Wow.
And the buzz started, and then it got sick, and then it got demented. And people started, we couldn't believe it as a band that people were understanding what we were feeling. It was really hard to acknowledge. I mean,
so you were wearing the masks at
Yes,
that point?
we've always worn the mask.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
From the beginning. And it hooked, and it made sense, and it worked. And like my lead singer has always said, Corey has always said that, people do say that, some people say, well, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to hide behind the mask? And we believe that we are giving you more information about us by wearing them because they are true extensions of us. And I feel everybody in the mask, or everybody in the band has fallen into a mask. And it's almost scary. I mean, that, like Corey explains his stuff as being that everything he feels when he's on stage, he feels it's the mask. That's the expression he feels when he's on stage. Because, his instrument is his vocals, his breath.
And his visual is the plain white kabuki mask, right?
No, his is the white mask with it's the hood with the dreads coming out of it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And he, it's very restricting. It hurts his head, and it's just mental. And when Corey sings, he goes for it so hard that it's like a guitar player bending his strings and making his fingers bleed. Corey's going for it so hard that he just wants to pass out and die, but he keeps pushing and he keeps pushing, and that's what his mask is with him. It's tight, it doesn't fit right, it hurts, it's everything he hates, it's everything he loves.
It's got a very painful look to it.
Yeah, and that's what it is to him, and that's what he would tell you. He'd say it is exactly what you just said, very painful. It's what he's feeling inside, and
now you ended up being the clown.
Yeah. And, to clear some things up so people understand, I got nothing to prove to anybody but myself. The story with my clown mask is that I've had my clown mask for about 15 years. Mm-hmm. I had been walking through the mall and had found it, and I only had $40 to last me a month. And Halloween was over, and this thing was like one of the very last masks that was in a place. And when I saw it, I was memorized by it. I was completely just memorized, hypnotized, whatever. I mean, I was just in awe, man.
Okay.
And I was just, and my friend at the time, she's like, you can't, buy that, blah, 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 blah. And I went back and I bought it. It cost $39. And I've had it ever since. And the thing with my clown mask is that it's all in the smile and the way it's set up. and it's a very evil clown, and I feel like I'm a very evil person, and it suits me just fine. And I've always believed that clowns are things people choose to ignore, and they reveal a certain truth in all of us, and they bring out a certain aspect in all of us, and people choose to put clowns behind them. And I'm the type of person that is not going to allow you to put me behind you. I'm going to make sure that I am seen and I am in your face, and I'm going to make you confront whatever scares you, because that excites me. So, I mean, and it goes deeper,
Sure.
than that with me. But, like the gas mask guy,
Yes.
who wears the gas mask, he has a collection of gas masks. And he's got them all, dude. And he believes that each one has a different personality, and he acts different in each one. And it's amazing because we'll do photo shoots, and he'll have one on, and it makes him feel a certain way, and then he'll wear another one, and it'll make him feel another way. And they're just extensions of his personality. And everyone in the band is happy with what they wear. I mean, no one complains. And we're always taking it to the next level, I mean, we're not, we don't want to be stuck with any one thing our whole lives. I don't want to be Kiss and be stuck with wearing a star in my eye forever.
Right.
So maybe I won't wear my clown mask that I'm wearing right now forever, but maybe I'll have other clown masks, but they have to be the right ones. That one's always going to be a part of my life, and it's always going to be seen, but it's one of a kind, one in a million, for me. And it's opened up my brain, so to speak, my soul. So, I might bring out other entities that make me feel other ways, because that's the true trick of it. We all have moods. Every song does something different to you. Every second in a show is different. And, why not, wear things that make you feel different, as you're going along. So
I agree with you 100%.
So, we're gonna keep it going, and we, like I said, we got kind of stuck with the mask because we start having kids show up in their mom's wedding dresses with gas masks on, and there were other clowns, and I mean, everybody in the band has people who wear their stuff.
Right.
I mean, we've had masks that we've discontinued, and people have come to those shows after we've discontinued a mask, and they're wearing masks like that.
Does that bother you that they do that?
No, we totally encourage it. I can't wait to the day when I can look out in a club, because it could never happen in an arena or something. Never's a strong word, but I don't see it happening. But I can't wait until I go to a club one day and everybody I see, the real people out in the pit, the ones that are getting sweaty, the people that can't stand being around people, but yet they're brought together by music, and they'll stand in a pile of people just to feel music.
Yes.
I can't wait to look out and see every one of those people in a mask, and it will happen eventually. Only if people get it, and I think they're going to get it because we're going to make them get it.
Well, you have a huge opportunity coming this summer to do that.
That's right.
The Ozfest, you're on the second stage.
Yep.
And how did that come about, and what are you going to do with it?
Well, I'd like to start off by just saying how honored we feel. It is like the most amazing feeling, not only to just be on Ozfest, but to have people ask you to be on Ozfest. And we are so blessed. I don't think any one of us in the band really realizes that we're on it yet, because it's too amazing to us. It's too big, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we can barely just comprehend the idea of it. It came about because I think the album is going to be one of the best in '99, hopefully. I mean, we're fully behind it. We hope people like it, and we're very proud of it, and we're proud of Ross. I think Ross Robinson has said that it's the best album he's ever done. Basically, Roadrunner's really behind the album. Monty Connor, the vice president of A&R, loves the album, and he thinks it's one of the greatest things he's ever heard. And they're really giving us a push. They're really into the band. They believe in the band 100%. And a lot of people got together and made it happen. And, I've met Sharon Osbourne at a Black Sabbath show, and she's seen some video footage of us. And the thing with Slipknot is that a lot of people don't quite get it when they listen to it. They understand that there's a lot of stuff going on, but I think they just kind of think that, things were added in on the recording. But seeing is believing, and when you see Slipknot, you're going to tell yourself that why doesn't every band have this many people? And I think that's what everybody did. They saw some video footage and they heard the music, and they're like, wow.
Well, I guess having that many members, it poses some more real world kind of problems, like
right.
The money goes 9 ways now.
Right.
That's got to be a concern as well.
Here's the rules that we've had from the beginning. We're a drug-free band.
Oh, okay, great.
And we don't feel like we have any time for it.
Good.
And the rules are that, if you do drugs, you're fired. You got one chance to get off them. And that's how it is with everything. In the beginning, we were told, hey, money's going to be split 9 ways. If you don't like it, get out. Practices is from 6 to 9 every day this week. Be there or go. And it's so easy for everybody because it's this is what we love to do. I find it real funny because I hear all these bands with 3 or 4 or even 5 people, and I hear all their little bickering and these little things that they have problems, and we don't have any of that. I mean, we have our problems. We're not a perfect band, but we don't miss practices unless there's something really wrong. And no one questions the drug thing because it's fucking stupid. Yeah. And we get on with our lives. We spent 7 weeks at Indigo Ranch, which is a pretty small place. It's got a chateau, that most bands, they really got to separate because they'll be there forever doing an album. With us, we get up and we calmly ask each other, who's taking a shower, or, can I have some of your ramen noodles? I'm broke, or, it's just a really easy process for us. We've been doing it for so long, and we get along so well. And we tend to appreciate space and money and all those things that, kind of are hindered in our lives every day. It's like when we get off the road or we have time with our families or whatever, we really appreciate that time because we do have to spend a lot of time with 9 guys, and then there's a sound guy, and then there's some road crew guys, and then there's a road manager. It's a lot of people in a Slipknot camp.
I'll bet. I mean, your roadies alone to move those drums must be intense.
Yeah, I didn't tell you, my drums are on an aeronautic lift. So I go about 3.5 feet in the air, and that's how also my drums came. I had taken my percussion thing to a next level, and a guy and I had collaborated, and we had 4 elevator wheels and an aeronautic cylinder, and we said, let's make something incredible, and we made this really rough, rusty-looking, dangerous aeronautic lift that holds all my drums and takes me in the air. So the next step was not only to get some drums that sounded different than Joey's, but also went with my theme of my welding and my metal. And, and the other drummer, his drums are on gymnastic springs. It's this big, Tinker Toy looking set, and they're all on gymnastic springs. There's 5 of them.
The visuals you paint are incredible.
Yeah, and he bounces them around. It's really scary. And it's just depending on his mood, maybe there's a really slamming riff, and he's got this thing, bing, 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 bouncing. Or maybe he's in this really dissonant mode, and he's just swaying it, just distributing his weight from right to middle to left, and kind of doing this turning motion, and it's kind of frightening, So, but
sounds really cool, actually.
But I want to get back to the Ozfest thing,
yes.
What we're going to do. Slipknot has always been a band that, we haven't felt like we need to have chicks on stage taking off their clothes, or guys for that matter, or, a bunch of fireworks or whatever. That's not saying that in the future we might not feel maybe we want to take something to a new level, and maybe we'll introduce some things. But we've always been a band that has just gone out and been ourselves. And, you see the way we act, and it's just so gimpish, the way we move and the way that we give off ourselves when we're playing our music. And I think it's truly unique, So all we're going to do for Ozfest is go out, be ourselves, play what we were given to do, kick the fuck out of each other, and hopefully people will enjoy it, and we'll make some friends, and we'll make some fans. And I think everybody's going to get into the music, and I think everybody's going to get into the lyrics. And, it's the first step. And like I said, we're really honored that our first professional tour supporting a new album is Ozfest. That's just incredible.
Oh, man.
And we're just, my drummer and I tell each other every day that we can't believe it until we're actually in the Winnebago going to West Palm Beach, Florida for the first show. And, it's exciting, man. It is just exciting, and we just want to give it. We want to bring it, and we want to bring it hard to the world. So it's an honor.
It sounds like it's been a long and winding road, but
oh yeah,
it also sounds like a band like yours inspires some pretty devoted fans.
Yes, very much so. I've always told people, like I said, most of us are computer literate, and I go online, and there's a fine line between your fans and yourself, because of the privacy factor.
Sure.
And you have to keep people at arm's length. But I always tell people, I really believe in this. I don't want fans. I want family. You know what I mean? And family sometimes means, it doesn't mean that all my fans are going to come over to my house and come to my child's birthday. It just means that there's a general caring there. There's a nurturing, because, I'm 29 years old, and sometimes I wonder what my connection is with people, and what my connection is the philosophy behind life and the music. The music brings everybody together. It doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair or you're blind, or there's no time for any of that stuff. It's what the music makes your inner self feel, and it brings us all together, and that's amazing. And it's so much more than money or cars, or no, it's just something you can't usually put a finger on. And when you do it, and you do connect with those people out there, it's more than just fans and band. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's something more that is just intense. And I go on, and if I get on AOL, I'll have 50 kids hit me at once, and sometimes I think they think I'm being a little rude because I turn my IMs off or whatever, but it's just overload. I talk to so many, and I try to be as nice as I can and talk to as many of them as I possibly can, but it's hard, and they all have great things to say, and every one of them is important. Kids, I've talked to one kid who, he was one of the very first people that ever emailed me or instant messaged me on AOL, and I talked to him, and I got to know him, and he was 13 years old, and he couldn't believe that I was married and that I had children and was able to be in a band, and I just told him that anything you put your mind to, you can do. And that led into the next aspect where he told me he played guitar, and he also played that instrument. I can never pronounce it, but it's the same instrument Max Cavalera plays. It's like got the coconut gourd shell thing with the string.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, he hits it with a stick.
Right.
And I just found that amazing. So we started talking about that. And he was telling me all about it. Well, a month later, he came back and he was talking to me, and I was saying his name and everything, and he's like, "Wow, you remembered my name," and all that. And we talked, and he just couldn't believe it. And then when I let him go, I'm like, "Now remember, keep practicing your art." And he's like, "What art? I can't draw." And I'm like, "No, man, your guitar and that Max Cavalera tool."
Right.
He's like, "You remember?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember. That's important. Those kind of things, keep practicing. You'll be in a signed band. You'll be in front of people, and you'll be spreading something that you can share with everyone. It's important." And that, I try to do that, I try to give a little time, but you got to keep them at arm's length because, privacy and space is just, it's important too for sanity,
Oh, absolutely. And as you become more and more popular, it's going to get worse and worse.
Right. Everybody in the band has what we call stalkers. We have I'm on if you're standing in front of the stage, I'm on the right side, and I have devoted clown lovers. And on the other side is the guy with the white nose, and he's got devoted followers. And then there's people that just love Corey, and they're there. And there's mass of every guy in the band. And everybody's got followers, and sometimes it can get really surreal, and it takes some weird turns sometimes, So
I find talking to you, I find huge contradictions in what you say and what you obviously believe.
Okay.
Earlier, when we were talking about your mask, you were trying to tell me that you're this evil person,
right?
And now you're telling me that you really believe in family rather than fans.
Right, but what I also told you was that The masks were extensions of our personalities.
Right.
And I'm not wearing a mask right now.
So, but if it's an extension of your personality, that person, I'm still talking to that person.
Yeah, you're still talking to that person. But that person also has some other stuff and some other issues.
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying?
I do indeed. Wow. Anything, I haven't, of course, heard the album yet. It comes out this summer on Roadrunner, right? It's got to be, it must be like at the crest of the roller coaster ride, and it's about to let go.
Well, I can just tell you something real briefly about that if you wish.
Sure.
We spent 3 years developing our style, and we had released an album that was very, it had so many different styles, but it was all under the name Slipknot, and we were still trying to figure out who we were. And when we came across Ross, and the way that worked was the woman that was managing us had been listening to us, and she realized that we brought up the name, Ross Robinson, Terry Day, and other bands, and she had asked a friend that was in the industry who managed the band Goldfinger, and she's like, my boys keep talking about this producer, Ross Robinson. And he's like, Sophia, I manage him, and she couldn't believe it. It was just weird. She's like, I got to send you a tape. So she spit it out, and John Reese loved it. And he then, in return, gave it to Ross, and Ross dug it, and Ross wanted to come, so we booked a show. And the show was sold out, and Ross came, and he came to a practice, and that really made us nervous because we don't like anybody, I don't care who you are, in the practice place, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Right.
And he loved the practice, and then he came to the show, and he left. He watched the whole show, and he didn't tell us anything. And when he got back, he called up and said that he was going to do us. And at that time, we were trying to get a record deal, and there was a lot of bidding going on, and there was a lot of crazy things. And Slipknot was always adamant about having you see us before you sign us. There was a lot of deals on the table, but they hadn't come and seen the show. They did their homework, but they refused to take the test, and the test was come to a fucking show and check it out. And then if you're down, we're down. And we lost a lot of deals because of the show, because people can't hang. They're not ready for Slipknot, and they want to block Slipknot out. One label said, if that's the future of music, I want to be dead. And Slipknot just came back with saying, not only is it the future of rock and roll, but we don't want you alive either. So, fine. And that's the way we've always been. We've never compromised our art for anybody. We play for ourselves. We have nothing to prove to anyone but ourselves. So Ross found out that we were having, we weren't having difficulty. We were just having a hard time finding family and, somewhere that we belonged. And Ross said no matter what, he was going to be recording us and that he would fund it himself and make sure that it got signed or whatever, that he believed in it so much that he was taking it on. And right around that time, he had been working on his production deal. And he was working with a couple different labels with it, but he finally did go with Roadrunner. And he put his imprint on Roadrunner, which is now I Am Records.
Right.
And the ironic thing is the very first label that Slipknot had ever had something solicited to was Roadrunner Records. And Monty Connor himself had said that, hey, this is a pretty good band. Let me see where they are in a year. A year to the date, we sent him the new demo of Spit It Out. And we said, we don't know if you remember us, but a year ago you said, where are they going to be in a year? Well, here we are, and here's our new song. And he kind of doesn't remember that story, but we do because we write everything down. We never forget anything, a name, a face, whatever. And so Ross told him, hey, man, this band that's been bugging you and everything, you have to go see them. And Monty came, and he hates to fly. And actually 1 year ago today, last April, he came.
Wow.
And came to a Chicago show, and we played with a friend, and he came, and we had a really, really good show. Not everything went the way we wanted it to, but we had a really brutal show, and he got it, no questions asked. He flew home. Monday we got a call. Record contract will be sent out to the lawyer. We were very happy because we felt like we found family. And the rest is history. We went to Indigo Ranch, Malibu, California, where Korn and Sepultura and, all kinds of bands have done their stuff. and that place is so amazing because it's full of energy. And we did 7 songs in one night.
Wow.
Tracking the drums now, okay?
Uh-huh.
And that's a very hard thing to do. And Ross actually put his hand down and said, I'm not allowing you guys to do any more songs tonight because you guys will be out of here in a week. He said we are the most hungriest band he's ever seen in his entire life. And what he did was he brought out the tools to allow us to be ourselves and to get out everything we always wanted to get out. And we did it. We were so frustrated with the industry. We were so tired of like whining and dining people because we didn't give a fuck about that. All we cared about was the music. We didn't care about, you want to all this bullshit when people come in to see you. It's like, do you dig it or don't you? If you don't, nice to meet you. We'll see you later.
Right.
If you're into it, let's talk about the music. Let's get it done. And we met a lot of good people that have stuck with us. They couldn't get us signed or maybe they weren't the right label for us, but they've stuck around because they believe in the song. I still have friends who from different labels that really wanted to get it going, but we chose not to go with them, that still stay involved with Slipknot because they believe in the entity so much. And Ross, he took us in that room, and when he said he got everybody quiet, and when he said start recording, he started slamming so hard because we slam, and very rare do we ever see anybody as aggressive as us. And this guy, man, he slammed so hard his pants would fall off, and no one would even care that we saw his, butt. We don't even care. He threw plants at my drummer when Joey was recording. He threw a potted plant at his head. Joey ducks out of the way while he's recording drum tracks, mind you. The plant busts into the glass, breaks all over the place, dirt's in my drummer's hair, in his mouth, in his ears. Or not his ears, but like in his hair and
Yep.
coming down his face and getting in his mouth. And he actually got dirt in his mouth this one time, and he just loved it. And he's gagging on it. It's this chunk of dirt, and it's just pushing us beyond belief. And the guitar players, he's, because Ross really likes guitar players, he's like knocking them to the ground, breaking their straps. And my guitar players are on the ground, still slamming, playing the guitar with no strap on the floor, on their back. And the cameraman slamming. Ross is throwing the camera across the room, and he's knocking the cameraman out. He's taking me out because, we dubbed the drums percussion later, and I'm tackling Ross, and Corey's in the vocal booth laying down scratch vocals, and he's punching the glass and knocking the microphones over, and everybody's going fucking nuts. And when it's done, we feel like we're in a battle. We're just like, what the hell just happened? And we go back in and we listen to what we laid down, and it's so brutal because it's like all this bound up tension stuff that we've had for 3 years trying to get on this thing we call a dream, and it's sometimes the biggest farce that we've ever been involved in. It's ridiculously absurd sometimes that all we ever wanted to do was be this entity, and now that you are, it's like even crazier, dude. I mean, we're not starstruck, dude. We don't sit around and go, yay, we're on Ozfest. You know what we're doing? We're like, are the banners done? Are my drums ready to go? Did you make that modification on your guitar? Where's your cases? Did you paint that tribal S on your shit? Who's got latex? Who's got this? Are you ready? Where's your toothbrush? We're completely noited out with everything that we got to do because every little thing involved in Slipknot makes the whole thing go down. You know what I'm saying? It's so many layers of everything that if one little thing is just like taken, a little palette of color is taken, the whole thing goes down. So we have to be on our toes at all times. And it's sometimes really frustrating. But, man, I'll tell you, when it's all said and done, when people hear the album, I think they're really going to feel something new. And I really believe that Slipknot is on the forefront of a new movement. You've had this movement that's been going on for a while, and I've heard them call it Adidas rock or pimp metal or whatever they've been calling it. All those bands are great. I like them all, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And those bands aren't going anywhere. Those bands are going to stay right where they are, but it's time for something new. And I don't know if Slipknot's it, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if we're it or whatever. I hope people like what we do, but I do believe we're at the forefront with a movement that's happening. And I think it's a very honest and true and very, very, very fed up, brutal movement. And I think it's so real that it's just too true. People are just going to really feel it. Hopefully, we all cross our fingers and we hope.
Well, what strikes me is I mean, in my position, I end up talking to a lot of people in your position, and it is very rare to hear the kind of conviction and passion that I really hear in what you're saying. You know, so often, you know, I talk to these people and they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, question 17, answer 93," you know,
Right?
And but you know, the conviction and the absolute energy that comes across in talking to you is intense.
Well, thank you. Well, we've always believed that we've had a lot of people point their fingers at us, and we're the kind of people that, you know, break that finger and shove it right back in your face. We've had people say that we're going to bow down and, you know, become drunks or this or that. And you know what, man? Nothing excites me more than to tell people I don't do drugs and I do what I do on stage. I roll around. If it's a small venue, I'll find the nearest garbage can and stick myself in it, and I'll roll around on the floor until I knock people over. And the first thing they say is, this band's on drugs. And you know what? We're not on drugs. You can do anything you want in life if you set your mind to it.
Absolutely.
You know,
right.
and I love that. And I love when people come to our show and we slam. And I mean, man, we are so passionate about our music. We are our greatest fans. I've been playing some of these songs for 3 years now. You know, they're a little bit different because there's a couple songs that were written way back in the early days, and they're all modified, and they're the Slipknot that we are now, because we finally soul searched and we found out who we are, and they've been super modified to what we are now. And I've been playing these songs for 3 years, but you know what? I go to practice and I slam because I love it. I love this band. I am what I am in this band because of the 8 other guys that played the music with myself. And we enjoy it, and we love it, and we don't take it for granted because it can go at any time. It can disappear. We could just be toast. We could get dropped. People, the album will come out, they won't get it, or they hate it, or will be compared, or whatever. I mean, this dream that we're following can just disappear at any moment, so I'm going to live it to its fullest, you know. I'm just going to go all the way, and there's nothing that makes me more happy is that when people... You know, I don't know if you've ever been in a car wreck, but I'm really fond of this story. Someone a long time ago said seeing a Slipknot show and hearing Slipknot music is like being in a car wreck. And the way I identify with that is that I've been in several car wrecks, and fortunately I've never been seriously hurt. One time I hit my head against the windshield and actually cracked the windshield, and the only thing I remember from the whole incident is how tense my hands were grabbing the seat and the dashboard. And after it happened, I'm looking at this big cracked windshield, not remembering my big noggin ever hitting it, but I look down at my hands and they're just implanted. You know, they're just like digging into the dashboard. And then all of a sudden that feeling I felt when I'm like relaxed, right? And I relaxed all my muscles. And that's what I feel when I play this music. I am bound up for 40 minutes to an hour. And when it's before I'm calm and after it, I'm calm. But when I'm doing it, it's like, it's this scary thing that's going on. This entity has come inside me, and I'm getting out all my angst of life. And I feel the fans get that too. The ones that have really seen it and they get it, they're just mental, you know. And then when it's over, they're refreshed and they go on and they live their lives. They go back to their unsatisfying home lives, or they go to the school where they're ridiculed, or they're put down at their workplace because they're a little bit different or whatever. And I feel like Slipknot may give you that, you know, that true thing that is like almost a requirement that's not being given a lot. And I'm hoping anyway. That's the way I feel. You know,
it's like some kind of strange exorcism ritual or something.
Yeah, you know, it's just, that's what I feel, and that's what I'm hoping people feel. You know, I'm hoping Corey's words. You know, Corey doesn't preach. He doesn't have a message. We're not one of these bands out there telling you how to live your life. Corey is speaking personal feeling. Corey is speaking personal pain. He's telling you it through his eyes of what he's felt. And hopefully he's not making it so personal that you can't somehow identify to it. He's making it so you can grab a hold and become one with it. And the music is of its own entity that I think we're trying to grab an audience that gets it, you know, and they'll be like, wow, this is new. This isn't rehashed stuff. And, you know, that's what we're hoping anyway, you know. And,
it sounds like you got the mindset to make it big.
I hope so, man. I will say this: we were doing the CD layout, and for years coming now, We've had plenty of people that we can't even count on 30 hands tell us that they need a special thanks in the CD. And we start thinking about it, and we're just like, this whole fucking dream is absurd. And we've remained true to ourselves. We've never cared about what anyone has said. So instead of thanking everybody, we just said, you know who you are, and you know what you've done, and we can't believe we're chasing this dream, but thank you, And that's always been the mindset that, we don't need to make concessions or we don't need to go out and compromise nothing. We're just going to lay it and be very honest. And as long as you don't lie, cheat, or steal, good things can come your way. And
so what you're saying is it's not about Shawn, it's not about Joey, it's not about Craig, it's about Slipknot.
It's absolutely about Slipknot. I would die for any one of my guys in my band. And it's such, for me, it's, I have things in my personal life that are so beautiful that, they can never be away from me. And that's also how I feel when I'm in my practice room or when all of us are together. Some of us hang out with each other more than others, and there's always something lost. But when we get together and practice, we're giddy. We're like total dorks. We're running around. We're like, oh, we're going to practice, and oh, my God. And then all of a sudden, man, the countdown goes, and we make these jokes that no one gets, and we're all in tune, and the music starts. And I don't care if it's practice or a show. It's the same. We're going for it. And it's just, it's real. I'm not doing it because it's my job and I want to make money to it. I'm doing it because it makes me feel great about myself and the world that I live in and the people that I'm around.
Well, I tell you, I'm really looking forward to Ozfest now just to see you guys play.
Well, I hope we don't let you down.
Oh, I'm sure you won't.
We're just, like I said, man, we can only go out and do the very best we can, and there's a lot of things that are going to be restricting, and this is one thing I was going to tell you. There's nothing that makes us feel better is that when we do our deal and we have a really good show, and people look at us. I've seen bands, and I'm not going to name anybody, but I've seen people even today. Not today, but like recent. They'll put on a mask for a song or two, but dude, they can't take the heat. Or they'll wear some coveralls, or they'll wear some outfit. But 1-2 songs, shit's off. They got to be something more than what they are. Slipknot does not take off a mask, and Slipknot does not get comfortable. I may drink 14 bottles of water at one show. It was 130 with humidity.
Wow.
It was so bad, dude, that I was hallucinating. I was like watching Barney dance across the thing. It was the only time in history that we had to take a distant little break. We did some sampling, 3 or 4 of us stayed out, and we just stared at people. Some people got some air real quick, and we came out and we did 2 encores, and we ended them with our encores. We never do encores and shit like that, but both of them that we did our thrash songs. We did a song called Eeyore, and it's the fastest, most blast beat, freaking heavy shit you've ever heard. And we're like, if we're going out, we're going to die, man. You know what I mean? We're not going to be pussies and play some ballad or something. And so we have a lot of things that go against the band too. We're already trying to take measures because we have, in July, we're going to be playing Phoenix,
Oh.
And, I'll guarantee you most of the bands are going to have their shirt off. And, if you've ever played football and you practice those first 4 days and the coach tells you put on the helmet and the shoulder pads.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever done that, but I was a defensive nose guard, and I used to freak out. I mean, almost literally cry because of that helmet. And that's what it's like. No one has an awakening until they've spent an hour in a rubber latex hood. 90% of your body heat escapes out of your head.
Right.
And that's all I should have to say right there.
That's right.
And we've drank, I've literally little 8-ounce glasses or bottles. I've drank 14 in a show before. 14.
Wow.
And was still thirsty and was
Slipknot's writer, 400 bottles of water.
Yeah, no, it actually is, man. We're not all about the deli tray and all that shit. We get stuff like that and stuff, but we're just like, where's the fucking water and where's the towels? Because it's brutal, man. It is literally brutal. And when we're done, we feel like we gave ourselves, man. I feel like I was fighting a bull. I feel at the end of a show, I feel like I hadn't robbed anybody. I feel like I've given them every dollar's worth of money that they paid to possibly see Slipknot. If they paid to get in and they bought a T-shirt or a hoodie, I feel like I justified those things. I feel like if traffic was bad coming to a show and mom and dad didn't want them coming, I feel like I've justified it. Because when we walk off stage, every guy in my band, not my band, the band that I am in, is just tore up. And we love it. When we're done, those masks come off, and we just feel, we've given it our all, man. We threw the touchdown pass. We've won the race. You know what I'm saying? We just didn't go out and play some chords and be real cocky and say, ha, 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 how you doing? We're the same old rehash shit. We give it all, every bit of it. And
how do you guys deal with the fans afterwards? Is it you're very accommodating?
I'll be honest. This is how it goes. We don't really like our identity known.
Mm-hmm.
People somehow always seem to figure out, because, we're in a small venue or something.
Right.
And we are very courteous, and, we always have time for people. We're not just like splitting, unless we have to, you know what I mean?
Right.
But if someone comes up to me and they feel a need to talk, I give them time. And even though I don't have my mask on, it's part of it, and it's part that we have to confront, and it's part that we have to do. So
you get asked to sign a lot of stuff too?
Yeah, we get asked to sign. My drummer goes to the mall like every other day to buy CDs or get some clothes or whatever, and he's always got kids coming up to him, and it's always pretty cool. We don't really get. There's some freaky shit that happens. Some girl saw my bass player balls the other night, and she just freaked out so bad that she had him sign her breast. And he's all about that. He signed her breast, and then she started crying, and she was like following him around the whole night, and just like it was like a Beatles mania thing or something. And he just couldn't understand it. He's just like, what the hell's going on? I mean, everybody likes attention, but sometimes it can get really freaky.
Oh yeah.
And we're just going to take it as we go. But hey, the days of ourselves being out in the pit watching the shows, they weren't too long ago. And we're going to remember that, because it's those days that we were out in the audience sitting in our chairs with our paid ticket that taught us that one day we wanted to be on the other end. And because of hard work and good music, we achieved it. So I can never, ever forget that or ignore it. We always said that we'd run contests where we'd, instead of have all the booby girls and all the popular people who usually get backstage, we would have our roadies go out and find that kid who got the worst seat, who maybe has an acne problem, who doesn't have any money, and he's a total, people outcast him, right? That kid's coming backstage.
Man.
Because that's the kid that worked the extra shift and worked for 5 other people just to have that one night off and had to take a fucking bus. And I got kids who have done that, and I've had them over to my house for dinner. And
don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of that.
No, you can't.
I have never heard anybody in a professional recording band say that to me, and you can't know how much it means to me to hear you say that.
Well, it's important because, I hope if I've reached anything on this interview, I want it to be the truth, and I want people to see the truth, because when you record an album, if you do it the right way, it's truth. It's you. It's your being. It's your soul. And that's not the only truth that goes on at a show. There's those kids. There's the manager. There's all kinds of truth. And it all needs to be reckoned with, and it all needs to be recognized. And these people who lose sight, and I'm really confident in myself, and so are the other guys in the band talking this way, because I have been confronted with drugs and stayed clean. I have been confronted with rock starness and stayed true. Things happen. Sometimes things happen, you get too close to your fans. And, coming from the small town that we come from, that, we used to do a lot of shows and And then all of a sudden we get signed, and, you know, we're out of here, and we get to work with the likes of Ross Robinson, and we get to be on a label with the likes of Fear Factory, Cold Chamber, even bands like Vision of Disorder, you know. I mean, all these bands that we love, you know, a lot of people around here, I hate to say, are really jealous. And, you know, they like to throw accusations at us and say that we've sold out or whatever. It's just another step, and you deal with it the way you do. You know, of course we're very happy that we've done it. But, man, people don't realize a record label's just a bank. That's all they really are.
Yep.
Is a fucking bank, dude.
And they're investing in you.
And they're investing in you. And this whole thing about, you know, I'm going to steal a line from Rollins. Everybody in this band is going to learn how to starve creatively, and that's the truth, man.
Good old Henry.
Oh yeah, dude. I can't tell you how many. You could call up any one of my guys that's in the band right now and ask them how many packs of ramen they ate while we were in Malibu. People just automatically assume that we're in Malibu recording a fucking album in Malibu, California,
right,
with Ross Robinson, that we're eating steak and lobster. No way, man. I ate ramen for 14 days straight. One of my buddies was with Joey mixing the album, and he ate ramen for 3 weeks straight.
I've been there too.
Yeah, and that, you know, those kind of things keep you pure, and the truth keeps coming in. And so I'm very confident in the way I talk, and so are the other guys, because we've been addressed with these things. I've had people from the past come up to me, and I've remained true to who I am and to the music. And I'm very comfortable in the way I feel, because I'm not going to lose sight of that. You know, if I have a bad day on Ozfest and I really need some space, yeah, I won't spend any time with fans. But if one of those kids comes up to me and says, dude, you know, I talked to you on the phone and this and that, or email, just say, hey, look, dude, you know I love you and you know I appreciate it, but right now I need space. As long as I'm honest, I can never be crucified. You know what I'm saying? And then just do my thing and be honest and always remember it, hopefully make a career out of it, support my family, and make a better life for ourselves. And, you know, a better life isn't always money. It's just the soul, you know, enriching the soul. That happiness shines everywhere. So
the very fact that you're a recording band and that you've contributed to the body of work that is music out there means that you've left an indelible stamp.
Yep.
And I think you guys got it in you. I certainly got the passion and the drive, and I can only wish you the absolute best of luck, because I don't think you're going to need it, though.
Well, I try never to get cocky or too confident on anything. I can just take everything day by day. And when I say, I hope, you know, if you come to an Ozfest show and we meet, you know, because I'm really adamant with meeting people, because it's important, you know, it's putting a face with a name or a voice.
We will meet, believe me.
Yeah, and I find that really important. And I hope, when I say I hope I don't let you down, I really mean that. That's not a joke with Slipknot. Everybody in the band, you as one person are as important as the other 29,000 people that will be at that Ozfest. You are as important.
But remember this, that if you do your show to the best of your abilities and give everything you've absolutely got, what else can you do? And you have done right by anybody's standards, and at that point, you know, it is part of the ages, and that's that.
Exactly.
Shawn, it's been an incredible pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you so much, man. It's an honor, man. We always have time to do anything and speak with anybody who's taken notice.